All right, Techno Studs, now what we're going to take a look is the show command. The show command allows us to have insight into this device and what this device is doing. So this is not going to be an extensive list of the show command. It's just going to be some of the highlights of some of the ones that show commands that you'll use often. So let's just take a look at the show command and what the show command's about. I'm getting onto the switch, so I'm going to hit enter to get onto it. I want to get into the privilege exec mode. So I am now in the privilege exec mode, which is going to give us a lot more options for these show commands. I'm going to type in show and then the question mark to see what options I have with the show command. And as you can see, there is a lot available to us on which route, what we want to view into, what we want to take a look at. So I can see a pretty extensive list with this. So some of the ones that you'll be using quite a bit is, one example is show interfaces. We look into here, we're going to see all of the interfaces and some stats available for those interfaces. So it's showing me the stats for these interfaces. And if I scroll through here, it's going to scroll through all these stats and all this data for each one of those interfaces. So quite a bit of information. Maybe perhaps I don't want to know all of the information about all of these interfaces because it's just too much. Maybe there's a specific one. So to narrow down what we're looking for, I'm going to do a show interfaces and then type in the interface that I'm looking for. So in this case, I'm going to look for Fast Ethernet 014. And now I'm seeing the status of this for this particular interface is up. So it's plugged into a device and I can see some of the broadcast that's happening and the bytes that are going through there. So I see some information on what is going through that interface, some stats and some statuses on that interface. So there is that's how I can narrow this down. Another one that you will be using a lot is show IP interface brief. So show IP interface brief shows us all of the interfaces on this device and gives us the status of those, and it shows it in table form. And so that way we can very quickly identify interfaces that are up and maybe interfaces that are struggling, or just what interfaces are on this device. So I can see that there's 48 of these fast Ethernet ports. There's a VLAN, there's gigabit Ethernet as well. So I can see all the statuses of this. So that will definitely be one that you'll use. Another one that you use a lot is the show running config. Showing running config shows us the configuration of what the device is operating off of currently. So as I scroll through here, I can see the different settings that it's operating on. This is not, remember, it could be different what's on the startup menu or the startup dash config. So this running dash config will just show us what is currently running, the configurations currently running on this device. And I see a lot of interfaces in here, and if I could have descriptions or something programmed on these interfaces, I'd be able to see all of that. This is a pretty blank switch, so I don't see too much from that standpoint. But let's say maybe I want to even drill down further. I want to see the running config, but I want to see it of a specific interface. So this is a little shortcut that can help you really quickly narrow down to see what programming is on an interface. You just type in the show running -config interface, and then you type in the interface that you want to address. I'm going to do Fast Ethernet 014, so I'll hit enter here, and then I can see what configuration is on this interface, which is pretty basic. It doesn't really have much, but that's a quick way of doing that. If I want to know, okay, is this match up with what is in the startup config? I can do a show startup config, and see what's in the startup config and scroll through here, and I can see that at this point I haven't saved anything, so really the two match up and they're the same configurations in both those. But yeah, show the startup dash config is going to be one that you may use now and then as well. Okay, another one that you will probably use throughout here is if you're dealing with some of the files, you may want to take a look at the flash. And so you do a show flash and you can see the files that are inside flash. Another one that I find that is interesting is the show MAC address table, and you hit enter, and you can see the MAC addresses that are within this device, and the ports that it's are associated with. So in this case right here, we really just see that we have only one real device that's connected to this. So it's connected on FA014. It recognizes that MAC address. And then the rest of these are actually the device, and they're all associated with a VLAN. So we'll take more a look at that MAC address table in the future. Just know that that's a command that can be helpful. Another one that we can also take a look at is the show ARP. And this, students often will get confused between the ARP table and the MAC address table. So I hope at this point in time you understand the difference between the two. But the show ARP, there's nothing in this one because I'm not remotely connected to it, and so this device is not actively communicating out from the device to any specific piece of equipment, although traffic can flow through this switch. If you like my videos, could you hit that like button? Because it really helps me out. Thank you. So there are some show commands. There's a lot more show commands that are available out there, but just know that you're going to be using a lot of the show commands, and the ones that I mentioned here, you're probably using a lot more than some of the other show commands. So get familiar with those show commands because it can really help you drill down into issues and correct things on your devices.